Greetings and welcome back to Disrupt. I've been making a list of questions that have come up since our last video, and I want to go ahead and address those for you guys so you understand what's going on behind the scenes and what's going to happen with the studio. Before I do that, I want to cover a couple quick topics. The first is that I'm speaking on behalf of the entire team here at Disrupt, but I'm unable to speak for Jack. And while we all want Jack to offer an apology or at least an explanation for why he did the things that he did, he's just declined to do that. So while it's not really our place to apologize for or explain why Jack did the things that he did, you guys deserve at the very least an explanation. So that's what I'm going to do through the questions that I'm able to answer today. The second thing is that I've known Jack for a long time, and I've always known Jack to be a really good person. And that's why this situation is just as confusing for me as it is for you, truly. The reason for that is because Jack has ceased communication with the entire team here, myself included, since basically all this happened. And all the questions that you guys have for Jack, I'll put them up on the screen, I have for Jack too. So we haven't received answers to these questions either. So it's not as if we're keeping anything from you. It's just that Jack has decided to not address them. And the reason that we're unable to answer these questions for Jack is because Jack acted alone. This was his decision. And I'll get into how that occurred and some of the questions that I'll be answering momentarily. So, having said that, let's get into the questions. The first question is Jack still working with Disrupt? And the answer to that question is no. Since Jack is unwilling to address the community or answer any of these questions, he's just not able to work with the studio. So the major change that you'll be seeing as it relates to Jack not working at the studio is that you just won't hear his voice narrating videos any longer. But the positive side of that is I'd like to bring a lot more voices to the studio because I think that's more representative of Disrupt because we're a collective of people. So I think more voices will be more indicative of who we are as a studio, but it will also bring more content. So we'll be able to tell more stories. So all in all, I think this is going to be positive. The second question is, what happened to the Wefunder? And will we be refunded? And so the answer to that is the Wefunder was canceled. And yes, everyone is getting their money back. I don't think Wefunder even took money in the first place. I'm not really sure how all that works, but that's my understanding, is that nobody was charged any money. Everyone's keeping their money. Jack doesn't get any money. I don't get any money. Studio gets no money. Everyone keeps their money. So that's good. The third question is, why was Jack able to launch the campaign if you guys are 50-50 owners? And this is a really good question, and there's understandably some confusion around it. So I'm going to do my best to keep the explanation brief, but it's kind of complicated. So basically, Jack and I have been 50-50 owners in the studio since it was founded in 2017. But Jack approached me in 2021 and asked to buy my equity. I didn't want to sell my equity in the studio, but the environment was no longer collaborative. So in an effort to resolve this amicably, I accepted Jack's offer. But a year went by and Jack wasn't paying for the equity that he asked to buy from me. And I just wanted to continue to build the studio. So I came back to Jack and said, Jack, I'd like my equity back. And Jack responded by saying he'd been working on this campaign and he was going to launch it. And then he was going to pay me back for my equity. So you have to keep in mind at that time, I didn't own my 50%. Jack owned 100%, even though he hadn't paid for it. So I responded by just giving him a deadline and saying, well, this is the deadline where I'm going to take my equity back. So you have until that date. And that kind of brings us to where we are today. Jack launched the campaign, wasn't successful, and now I've taken my equity back, and I'm now majority owner in Disrupt, so I will be making the decisions on what happens with the studio going forward. And that means no more crowdfunding equity campaigns ever again, so you don't have to worry about that. The next question is, does Jack still owe you the money that he offered you for your equity? The answer to that is no. Because I got my equity back, I told Jack he doesn't owe me any more money. So that's that. The next question is, what happened to the YouTube videos? The answer to that is Jack took them down. So I think that pretty much covers the major questions that you guys had and the ones that I'm able to answer. And again, I'm sorry I can't answer the questions about why Jack did what he did. But another important note is that I've let Jack know that he's able to come on the channel at any point and have a Q&A with me, or even make a video independently addressing these questions and offering answers. And we will be happy to offer it to you guys. So that's Jack's decision and not mine to make. But what we can do is keep putting out content. So that's what we plan to do from here on out. I've been with the studio since the beginning, and I'm determined to continue growing the studio. So I'm really happy to be here. We've got an awesome team of super motivated people that are just really excited to keep telling stories. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for your patience. The last thing I want to say is the team here is dedicated to earning your trust back. I understand what's happened with Jack has understandably left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So we get that. And we're going to work extra hard to prove to you that we're still worthy of your attention. So if you would just bear with us and give us that space to try to bring you guys the best stories that we can, we really think that we can take this to the next level. So we're really hoping to take this situation and turn into a better studio from it. Thank you guys for your support and for listening, and stay tuned because we've got some awesome stuff coming up.